Well, welcome again to our reading of Thucydides book 4, and we're up to section 4 of the book. And in the earlier bit, remember that Demosthenes is at variance with the other two generals, Eurymedon and Socrates, who they wish to go on to Corcyra, whereas Demosthenes wants to set up a base right near the Spartan Peloponnese. But he's unsuccessful in persuading them, as this next section tells us. But when he did not persuade, now we get double negatives in Greek, but only one in English. So when he persuaded neither the generals nor the soldiers, husteron, but afterwards also koinosas, having shared with or having communicated his views, his plans with the taxiarchs. Now the taxiarchs are like battalion commanders. They were elected each year to command the contingents of infantry. Having communicated with the taxiarchs also, and presumably they were not persuaded, Hazukazden, literally he was kept idle, so he did nothing. So he was kept idle, hypoaploias, by an inability to sail. So perhaps due to poor weather, you might say here, by an inability to sail. Mekri, until, now we get these datives here, autois, tois, stratiotes, and we get a dative participle here, scholasdusin, and we get another dative participle here, peristasin. So the subject is horme, the impulse, this is from Empipto, the impulse came upon the soldiers themselves, having time on their hands, standing around, and then we get the infinitive, antakisai, to wall up, so to fortify, tokorion, the land. Kai enkeresantes, now this is a participle here, having put their hands to the task, ergadzonto, they began work. So it's something like having taken the work in hand, they kept at it, they continued working. Sideria men, we get a men and then a de here. So ekontes, not having metal lithurga. Now this is from that ergo root, so stone working. So not having iron tools for dressing stone, but carrying the stones, logarden, this is an adverb here, it's by a process of selection, so perhaps selectively. So because they couldn't cut the stones, they chose them very carefully so that they wouldn't need to cut them. And sun etithesan, and they placed them hos hekaston ti sumbine. This is slightly tricky. It's something like as each one happened to fit in some way. So as each one happened to fit in some way. And ton palon, and palon normally is just mud. It probably could translate here as mortar. If perchance they needed to use it, and so if perchance they needed to use mortar, aporia, by their lack of angaon, this is the buckets, by lack of buckets, epheron, they used to carry it, epitunotu, on their back, enke kufotes. Now this is from kupto, to bend, so it's sort of bending backwards, something like that. So bending double, bending backwards. so that so hos malista, so as much as possible, it would be about epimenein to remain there. So they to retain as much. Yeah, so that's what they did. They bent backwards. So as much as possible, it would be about to remain there. That is the Pylos, this mortar, and sum plecontes. This is from sum pleco. Pleco is to twine, to intertwine. So interlocking their two hands. There's a jewel here. There are two hands s to opiso behind them. Hoppos may, so that it might not, plus optative here, so that it might not fall off. Pantidetropo epagonto. Now we get a little funny te. You'd expect a de, but Thucydides often uses this te in place of de when he's sort of putting a few different things together and summarizing. So we're getting that happening here. So and by every means they were making haste. Phthenai is from phthino. I often translate this by forestall. Is a nice, slightly archaic English, but it's very useful for translating this word here. So by every means they were making haste to forestall, that is to get there before the Spartans did, to forestall the Spartans, working hard. The X emphasizes the ergastomai here. So working hard on the parts that were most assailable, most attackable. So most assailable, prin, before they understood, that is the Spartans, epiboesai, well, attacked them, I think you translate that here. For the majority of the land, now hubarche is often used as just like esti, so this is the past tense, so was. So the majority of the land was auto itself, and so of itself strong, so perhaps naturally strong, and there was need in respect of nothing. There was no need of a wall. There was no need, you might say, at all, of a wall. And that's the end of section 4.